Hey guys, it is NerdtoKnowBasis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. And welcome to the show, guys. Not From the Dark, which is still on the screen. You can tell I use the same stuff over and over again. How's everybody doing? We'll start with Bryn. How are you, man?
Doing good. Long week, but Dungeons and Dragons is making me feel better, so that's fine.
The movie?
Yes.
No, playing Dungeons and Dragons is making me feel better. My party's playing Tyranny of Dragons at the moment, and my DM has thrown in a bunch of little homebrew stuff. Like he basically created like a Metal Gear Solid style Foxhound boss group for us to take on over the course of the game. It's gonna be class.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, we just got introduced to it. Introduced to them on our last session, and we're all just so pumped now. It's unreal. Can't wait.
We're pivoting this entire episode because I didn't know you played D&D. Please tell me your character.
So I've got a Dragonborn Warlock, Hexblade Warlock. Blue Dragon as well, so lightning.
Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yeah. And yeah, basically, like I've got him. I'm doing this whole corruption thing. So like he's in of himself, he's a lawful good character, but because he's Hexblade, he's being corrupted by the Shadowfell entity. So over the course of the game, he's going to get more aggressive and more violent.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's going to be cool.
Very interesting.
Like Hellblade.
Can I just say one thing that I've never actually played D&D, and I'm sad about that. They should have like a Tinder for D&D.
We could set one up, like a Nerd to Know D&D.
There is a market for that, because I just know so many people
100%.
that want to play it, but
you
just don't.
Yeah, no.
Either the people they know aren't interested, or everyone that they know who's interested already has a group going.
No, literally, right? So I've tried 4 times to play D&D, and particularly in what's that place? The
Clockwork Door?
No, the game place.
Clockwork Door?
No, the video
Games
game
Workshop?
place. The video
Token?
game place. Token, yes. Token used to do D&D, and every time I go there with a friend, it was always full, and the smell was horrific. So we're like, no, we gotta leave.
Yeah.
I was
That comes with the territory of D&D.
I know, but I'm like, oh my god, lads, you're in a basement. Please shower.
Not when your DM is a woman. When your DM is a woman, there are hygiene rules.
Fair, but there were no women DMs. They were all men. Yeah. So
that's
no
a
hygiene.
shame.
Yeah, I mean.
So here's the thing, right? I tell you what, right? There should be a Tinder for D&D, because 100% I want to play D&D with someone, but there's nobody there that wants to play, or is, as you said, Kev, everyone has a game that's going. So I'm just there, sad face.
Yeah. But it's even like there's such a market as well for people who want to play other tabletop role-playing games that aren't D&D. But
hold on.
Try to find people.
Hold on. One thing at a time. I'm just trying to say entry level.
I know, but like,
come on, Dara, don't you want to get involved in masks or GURPS?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Settlers of Catan.
I don't know what these things are.
Yeah,
all I know is when I was in UCD one time, right? And here's what I remember. I joined GameStop when I was in UCD.
Right?
And here's my story. No, and here's what turned me off completely, right? So I remember I was like 17,
the smell.
18. The smell as well. Yeah, the smell really. Yeah, I got you. But it was like the opening night or something like this, and they're like, "Oh, let's play a game called Vampires," where they pretended to be vampires in UCD, and it was the cringiest thing ever. And I'm like, right, guys, you're way too into this. And then I never went back.
Yep. Was it like a role-playing thing?
Yeah, but it was just like, you guys are way too into this, and I just want to play something else that isn't this. So
I just wanted to play.
That's what turned me off the first time I ever went to a LARP weekend. It was just like, okay, you guys are too into this, and I'm not having fun because you're spending an hour trying to explain rules to each other.
See, that's the problem. It's just like, while I appreciate being super into all kind of stuff, that's great. It's just like when there's people talk about the entry point with comics and stuff. It's like when the entry point is so far deep and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and just feel really excluded. You're like, no.
That was my experience with the board game Munchkin.
No.
Like Munchkin's a great game. I just want to say straight up. But the problem I've always had with it is if there's someone new playing, you basically have to have a terrible experience playing it because you have to explain, because like the rules are so in depth that it just takes hours to play. And once people actually do understand what's going on, the pace of the game increases so fast and becomes so much more fun, but it takes ages to get there. And it really sours the experience. But like, yeah, I think I think it's one of those things with a lot of like role playing game groups where like there is that element of people just taking it a bit too seriously for something that's a bit too stupid to take seriously.
Yeah,
I hate it when new people are interested in the thing I like.
Yeah, it's like there is an element of it where it's like you gotta
that's not what I'm
you
saying.
You can be into it and you can get down to the ground with the numbers and that's fine. You can be real rules about. But there is a point where you have to think this is a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's at its core fundamental. That's kind of the whole point of this.
Just want to jump in there on that. It's like I understand what Bryn is saying, and I totally get where Katie's coming from. And in my experience, that is what happens a lot, where it's kind of like, but it's not gatekeeping because that's a kind of harsh expression, but it's by gatekeeping the way, by almost proxy because that's how it's set up. I think that's the problem with tabletop games. They're so in depth that it's just like you have to have done your reading before you.
They're almost prohibitive.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've always found.
Yeah,
that's it. That's why you just kind of need people who make it a point to make it welcoming. Like they are in themselves very dense systems that take a lot of time to understand.
Absolutely.
But just what it takes then is just kind of a volunteer of sorts to come out and explain the rules and bring people kind of in and say, here's how these ones work. So read more into it if you want. Yeah.
So continuation, 3 years later after this, I was in UCD doing a master's. And one of the lads who was in my class, who was a genuinely nice guy, but was super into everything to the point of you're at 11 now, you need to kind of scale back to about 6. And every day I'd walk in and he'd be like, oh, hey, let me tell you about my character I created. And he'd go on for 2 hours. And I'm like, okay, I've been polite enough. I don't need to go to the bathroom now. You know, it's just it was this for days at a time. So my entry level to this whole world hasn't been good, guys. It hasn't been what other people tell me it is. It's just smelly dudes and guys who are way too into it.
Well, that's why you can play over Zoom, which would solve a lot of your problems.
Well, it's the smell factor, definitely, and also muting.
Yeah.
But there is also kind of just a look factor to it. It really gels when you manage to find a group that fits you.
Right.
That's also like it's just sometimes you just kind of end up in a group and they're having the best time, but it doesn't fit what you're looking for the game.
Well, I think a lot of what can put people off as well is the fact that these things are, I don't know so much about these days, but like back when I was trying to get into it, it was very gendered. So like, you know, if I would walk into a place where they would do these kind of things, all the guys would just look at you and be like, oh my God, what are you doing here? Why is there a girl in here?
It can be, and especially in like, again, a few circles, maybe in like the kind of the college circuits, but I find that like the community as a whole, particularly if you're kind of looking online, has become incredibly inclusive and diverse. Like there's like a lot of kind of minority-based communities have really kind of gravitated to D&D for just the for the diverse aspect of it, just that kind of that community thing of like here's literally a party of diverse characters, choose go nuts. Like
and I think that's one of the things as well is that like I think it's one of those things where because it's very nerdy, the feeling of it being exclusive is a massive risk that, depending on the people who are involved, the people that you talk to about it, can be very aware and accepting of it, or they can be incredibly going, but why do you need to be included? And you just go like, because I want to play. How dare I want to play?
It's a video game or a game.
It's fun.
You know?
Yeah. Like
see, this
games are for playing.
This is why I only play Magic the Gathering with a certain number of people and people who I know aren't super into it. Like they just want to play it for fun because, oh my God, playing Magic the Gathering with people who are way too competitive is also not fun. It's like, listen, man.
But I mean, like how many? Like one of the reasons why I never got into sports was because of how incredibly competitive other people were about sports, and I'm like looking at people going, "You're not going to play professionally. You're 9. Why? You know, we're 9. Why are you angry at me that I didn't get to the ball in time?" Like, you know,
that's a good comparison. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
It's the same thing here. I mean, like I think that like as well from in terms of like the game being more accessible, I think Wizards of the is it the Swords Coast?
Wizards of the Coast.
Wizards of the Coast. They've done a great job of like trying to make the game
until recently, where they went way too far and started banning words for some reason, which was ridiculous, but
I don't know what you're talking about, so I can't speak to it.
Okay, so basically, Wizard of the Coast, while they had a great track record in light of certain events that happen around the world, they banned certain words, and it doesn't make any sense. Crusade, jihad.
But I would argue understand jihad.
I would argue that jihad shouldn't exist when Islam doesn't exist.
Fair, but same with Crusade. But what I'd say is there's also, but these terms have always been used. What I would say is,
here's the thing though,
it's not in the same world though, Dara. So that doesn't they shouldn't exist anyway. I would argue,
but it goes bigger, right? So fair enough. I would take your points on those. But for example, my main deck that I play Magic the Gathering with are black and green, right? You can't, and the natural thing that would be white as well, because white are like the land characters. You can't, any land that refers to giving extra power to white characters is banned now as well. It's like, I don't even make sense. It's ridiculous. So they've gone a bit too far in my opinion, but I will concede the first two, but stuff like that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I can't really speak to it because I don't play Magic, so I don't really understand what you're saying. To be honest with you,
basically,
land, to me.
Yeah, people are upset because land colors. They think, as you said, they think they have real world comparison. It's like, no, these are orcs and zombies.
Yeah,
look,
Magic.
Orcs and zombies are real.
Magic is a whole other language way over my head that I'm not going to speak to. But as far as D&D though goes, the game in itself is so modular. You can put whatever the hell you want in it. If you want Crusades and Jihad in it,
it's also
that's your prerogative, guys.
It's also homebrewed heavily. So
my questions, right? So I'm going to take this from someone who has never played D&D. So if you were never to play it before, where should someone start? Like as you said,
that's exactly where I was going to go actually. There's two places people tend to tell you to go. There's the starter set, which basically gets you like a basic rule book and a basic campaign that will basically get you through all of the mechanics and all that kind of stuff. I don't recommend it because I recently played the Rick and Morty small campaign that came out, which basically does the exact same thing, small campaign, basic rules, and pre-generated characters. So, and what's better about that is if you've got any experience of Rick and Morty at all, it's handy because you're basically playing the characters in Rick and Morty, playing D&D characters. So, like, you can be Morty plays a rogue half orc. Beth plays a human paladin, if I remember correctly, and so on and so forth. And because of that, it allows you to kind of just get into the swing of actually role playing a bit more than it would have if you were just going, well, I'm playing as a human ranger and I'm going in this cave now. It's right. Especially if you like Rick and Morty, it's definitely a better place to start. I would prefer if they would make more things like that to attract different audiences. I know they have one for Stranger Things, which is a great idea, but they definitely should do more stuff like that because the more ways they can get them, like there has to be multiple ways to get entry level into it, but that's definitely where to start.
And Kev, my question as a follow-up to that would be, you mentioned Zoom as like a way to play it now, because obviously that's how people are playing it in post-apocalypse. How do you, what advice would you give to people who've never done a game on Zoom before?
Well, actually, I play mine on Discord. Obviously very similar. We just don't obviously we don't use the cameras because Discord's mostly audio. But the handy thing with Discord is the Discord bots. There's a dice rolling bot.
Oh, cool.
But anyway, that all aside, Jesus, as far as advice to kind of go, I really don't know what to say. Like with that, it's like my kind of I think the biggest piece of advice I can give to anyone considering playing or actually already playing is communication is the key.
100%.
Like
in anything.
Anything, obviously.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Like in terms of like, talk with whoever's kind of running your game, and they're going to be the best person to fill you in on information.
Right.
Tailor the game to you, and that's it. Like, that's really kind of all. That's the kind of the core piece of information.
Well, just to put this in perspective, and Kev will also will also kind of cringe and probably understand exactly what I mean when I say this. It like my party before COVID were it took us, I want to say, about 2.5 years to get halfway through the starter campaign because of organization, because we would go months without doing sessions, because back then, you know, we were so busy and stuff like that, we never really got in the habit of doing sessions. So we would it was, you know, we at one point, I think the longest break we had was like 6 months where we just didn't play. Wow. You know, so like organization, getting in the habit of it is very important. Since
it's like everything else, I suppose, building habits. But
since then, like, I mean, we're now in the habit of going, well, every Friday we play, and you know, now we've missed like, I think about 3 weeks, and we've had to reschedule once. But that's because we're now in the habit of it. We're the swing.
That's it. Like this was, if you wanted to start a D&D campaign, this was the perfect time, because you had like the 6 months where you had nothing else to do, so you learned how to play D&D and you got into the habit of doing weekly. Well, and now you're back into your weekly schedule. Yeah. It's part of it.
Totally.
Well, what I'm taking away from this is that there is a market for a Tinder for D&D. Yeah,
so they're 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Get on it, programmy guy.
There you go.
Yeah. Even like, it's a very, and I'd say like it's a very kind of simple concept, because when you log in, you ask, are you a player looking for players? Are you a player looking for a GM? Are you a GM looking for players?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there we go. That's, you know, that doesn't exist.
There's your set.
Probably should. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it looks like we're probably going back into lockdown relatively soon anyway, so.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Like,
but going on from that, we didn't even get through introductions in this 15 minutes. So
also, I'm Kev.
Yes, Kev. How are you? How are you doing?
Great, good, yeah. No, it's been a busy old month in the book industry, what with school books and people buying them, and schools apparently being open.
And then closing again.
Yep.
We'll see.
Today.
Well, hasn't like 2 have already closed so far?
Yeah, in South Dublin. So it's like, oh, good job, guys. Good job. Yeah.
You almost made it a week.
Exactly. It's like, oh, they're gone like flies. It's like,
but real life is over there now. We're here now, and I finished up a wonderful little Switch game, which I would like to spend a little chunk of time talking about, because I think it would appeal definitely to Dara.
Okay.
And I think, Katie, you get a kick out of it considering you have a Switch. It's a little game called Carry On.
Right.
Like carrying birds. And essentially what it is
I've heard of this. Yes.
You are an experimental biomass that escapes from its captor and tries to escape the lab. Just consumes everything in your path. Basically, you are the Thing from John Carpenter's The Thing.
Excellent.
And it's so much. It's only like 5 or 6 hours, and it just controls so well, and it's just above the borderline of gore, where you're like, this is ridiculous, and I love every second of it.
Is it anything like the body mass from the end of Inside?
I've never seen Inside.
That giant homunculus, that's kind of
that you like climb into, and then you become it, and it's all like arms and legs.
Oh man, that ending is so like everyone.
The whole game is messed up.
Everyone needs to play Inside first and foremost.
The game. Sorry, I thought you were talking about a movie. I was like, yes. No, it's not like that. You're kind of more like a real big bundle of mincemeat with teeth.
Oh, okay, with teeth. In my head,
Super Meat Boy.
Yeah,
but
Super Meat Boy 2, Extra Meat Boy.
Extra Meat Boy.
No, what's that? Super Meat Boy 2, Extra Big Boy.
Oh God.
Swole
super size.
Swole Meat Boy.
But like it's in this kind of like a 16-bit graphics, so it's all pixelated. So like it's just kind of ridiculous. No, it's very fun. It's like 20 quid. I definitely recommend it.
I think it's
like a short one.
I think it's on the PlayStation. The PC as well. So.
Oh yeah, I only know it on the Switch. So they might have ported it to PC.
Awesome. So that sounds cool, man. Actually, because I've been looking for a game to play, because I'm still playing Prey at the moment, and I'm really into, speaking of homunculus lab experiments, enjoying Prey at the moment, and
getting hunted by a chest of drawers.
What I don't. That game is so weird. Stuff just kind of happens, and you're like, "Oh, there's a cup now. It's trying to kill me. Oh my god!"
I'll never trust a chair again.
No, never again. Never again. And Katie, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm getting back into like doing photo shoots and stuff, which means I've been extra busy and podcasting on the side and taking on more than I can handle. It's great.
Well, it's better to stay busy, I suppose, than not,
Yeah.
but it can be tough. But look, we do have some sad news to get to this week, and it would be remiss for us to not talk about it, considering the fact how much we talk about Marvel. And that was the passing of Chadwick Boseman, and he, of course, was Black Panther, among other things. And so Katie, kind of run us through what happened and what we know so far, and that kind of stuff.
In terms of what we know so far, basically it's come out that he was diagnosed like 4 years ago with stage 3 colon cancer.
Yeah.
Kept it secret, kept it like within his circle really well, actually. Like fair play to all his family and friends who respected his wishes and didn't say anything. And he pushed through it. He like created amazing movies. Obviously, Black Panther is right up there. And I know you guys aren't the biggest fans of Black Panther, but like whatever, it's great. But I'd say his performance in as the character definitely overall is phenomenal. With particularly Civil War being my favorite. Like I think that was like the most badass he was. But like especially now considering that he was essentially dying of cancer.
Yeah. Oh, that's what makes it unbelievable. The fact that he went off and did, because he was working pretty consistently for the past couple of years. Yeah.
But I think even regardless of like what your opinions are on the films that he did, like on Black Panther or whatever, like you can't deny the reach this guy had.
That's the thing.
Like, that's like undeniable. Like the effect that
once he's dead now, but he'll live forever.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and if there's any kind of solace to be taken from that, once you're in the Marvel universe as like an established character, you're never really going to die, right? So.
But like even just seeing it's kind of heartbreaking, but also really wholesome and heartwarming. It's just the amount of children, like especially like Black children, because obviously with him being an Avenger, they had representation, which was great. But like their tributes, you see all the little kids doing like the Wakanda salute and everything. It's just lovely. Like the amount of people that he inspired.
He will just go down in cinema history as an incredibly important actor for Black representation in cinema, being in one of the biggest franchises in history.
Yeah. And they're actually, as far as I can see, people are actually starting to petition Marvel now not to recast him and actually let T'Challa die and, have his sister take up the mantle.
That was kind of the plan anyway. Like now a lot of stuff that we heard in leaks from Marvel a couple of months ago makes sense. Because the plan was, from what I heard, was to retire Black Panther and have Shuri take over in much the same way that Jane is taking over as Thor in Phase 4, in Phase 5.
And maybe that
makes sense.
That kind of, hints at like maybe they knew a little bit about what was going on as well.
I think they did. I think they did. And now I think it makes way more sense because the plan kind of was that. And that's what I heard even after Endgame. I was like, well, it's weird to hear this because you think they'd want another movie, right? But now it kind of makes sense that they probably knew what was going on. But look, it sucks. It's unexpected. Colon cancer is one of the things that once you get it, that's it. It's kind of the same with pancreatic cancer.
Any of those cancers in your gut,
that's it. You're kind of
because they're so hard. They're so hard to catch early.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, and then it's heartbreaking because he's so young. It's like this kind of feels like when Bill Hicks died because it was just so out of the blue. Yeah. And he had pancreatic cancer, and you're like, oh my god, like wow.
Just because you brought him up, I literally just spent last night watching a documentary made by his brother.
No way.
Bill Hicks. Yeah. Like apropos, like I wasn't planning to talk about it, but it's just random that you mentioned it.
But that's that's what kind of went through my head. I'm like, this feels like when Bill Hicks died. Yeah.
Like, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like, because I mean, like with Bill, for people who don't know, Bill had pancreatic cancer, and like when I think he was diagnosed at stage 4, so again, very, very sudden. Yeah. And like, he basically, within like I think about 6 months, of him getting diagnosed, he announced that he was going to stop doing comedy. Wow. He had a couple of weeks where he was living with his parents again.
Yeah.
And then passed. It's terrible. Like, but I mean, it's a similar thing here where it's just like, it's so untimely, especially from someone whose like momentum was so heavily on his, like, where like it just seemed like his career was only starting to really kick off.
Yeah, he was kind of like going from strength to strength.
And that was it. And it's very much the same way where it's like they're cut down in their prime. And while they will live forever, it's still incredibly sad at the same time.
Yeah,
you know that's and it's so weird because it wasn't like it was a suicide or that. It was literally just the man was sick.
It's just gone.
Yeah.
Like
Gone. That was it.
Yeah.
And as well as that, like while he was fighting his own cancer, he was like visiting kids in hospital who also had cancer to like cheer them up,
Yeah.
Which is just amazing.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
But yeah, so it is sad, and it's just the Marvel tributes and stuff like that have been great. So like, we give our best to his family and all the fans and stuff like that as well. But
it's given me more reason now to go out and just to find a way of checking out the new Spike Lee joint that he's going to be in.
Oh, there you go. That's it's the only good thing I suppose that you have from something like this when people work in the arts. Their stuff kind of lives forever. Like look at Heath Ledger. It's like.
Yeah, exactly.
Famous than he ever was, but it just is what it is. Okay, guys, so moving on to something slightly happier. I did check out, a lot happier, to be honest with you. It's Keanu Reeves' birthday today.
The internet's boyfriend.
Yes, and it's ironic because he isn't on the internet, which is weird.
But he is, but like in spirit.
In spirit, like he kind of is.
He's all over the internet in spirit.
Yeah,
he's just not physically there, so it's fine. But yeah, it's his birthday today. He's only like 54 or something like that, so that's crazy.
I think he's 56, isn't he?
Is he 56?
I think so.
He's a lot younger than I thought he was going to be, but it's also like, well, I suppose he is still John Wick, So yeah, fact check there for me, Katie, if you could, please.
Yeah, I will do.
1964, so
56.
56-ish.
Still though, that's pretty incredible.
For a man that looks like he's in his mid-30s, that's
it's unbelievable. So it's like
I think he's got like a Dorian Gray situation or something going on there.
Well, apparently he is a vampire according to the internet. Where
there's like a really old.
There's a portrait from like the 15th century.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, this kind of makes sense. But I bring him up not only because of that, but because I did actually get to see the new Bill and Ted.
Oh yeah.
How is it?
Right. I've been waiting for it for about 20 years. Now, I know it's been out for 30 years, but I wasn't cognizant of that fact when I was 5.
That's
or whatever. I remember really seeing Bill and Ted when I was like 10. So it had a big influence on me. And I loved Bogus Journey, right? Bogus Journey is one of my favorite films of all time. So it wasn't that, right? But it wasn't Excellent Adventure either, but they kind of went on their own way where it wasn't either. But it was very, very enjoyable, and it did the father-daughter thing really well. Like the best comparison I could draw to it is it's very similar to what's that movie that came out? Kevin Smith, the new Kevin Smith movie, Jay and Silent Bob Kemp, the movie, that one, the terrible, terrible movie. That tried to do this and failed like epically. This did the same thing, but really handled it a lot better. Like, because it had the original cast, the original writers and all.
Assuming minus George Carlin, though, unless they managed
to... He's in it. He
didn't like CG him or something, did they?
Yeah, well, the way they do it is there's a monument to him because he's dead in the movie.
Okay.
So so there's a monument to him where they're like, oh, Rufus is there, and you have the original phone box and stuff. But what's interesting is it follows his daughter, because his daughter's like, hey, you guys are still the chosen ones. My father always believed this. Then it's a conflict with George Harrison's wife, where she's like, no, we have to kill Bill and Ted. That's what the prophecy means. But at the same time, Bill and Ted's daughters are like, oh, hey, we have to help our dads because they've been trying to do it for so long. So the story is they're still trying to write the song like that unites the world. But it's not only unite the world now, it's saved the entire galaxy and time itself. So the stakes are a little bigger. So it's a combination of both the first two movies, but in a totally unique way. And it's also, you know what it is, right? In this horrible, horrible year that we live in, with all the horrible crap that's going on, it's so wholesome, and I felt really good after it.
That's great.
Well, so, that's a good takeaway point.
And I think Andy, who watches it, who just wants to feel good, you will, because it's Bill and Ted.
Like, Alex Winter looks amazing. Song that unites the world.
Well, Bill and Ted, Alex Winter hasn't acted in like 15 years, and it looks like he hasn't missed a beat. And then Keanu Reeves, he tries his best. It's weird because in the way Keanu Reeves, people met him as kind of like the Valley dude bro kind of guy, like the dude kind of whoa. he can't do that anymore because he's the action hero now.
Yeah.
So you're like, it's just weird. So it's the opposite of what happened when you see Speed, and you're like, why is Ted in Speed? And now you're
why is Neo in Bill and Ted?
Yeah, that's what's happening. It's like, why is Neo here?
I mean,
It's
he kind of went back that way for Toy Story 4.
Yeah, like it's still really good, and the material is decent. And I'd say if you're a fan of the series, definitely check it out. But even if you're looking for something that is very uplifting, like wasn't made for money, it wasn't made cynically. They actually just wanted, because they've been trying to get this made for 10 years, so they just wanted to tell the story. And you know what? It's a lovely father-daughter story, and it's super sweet. So I love it. And Keanu Reeves is obviously awesome, and so is Alex Winter. So check it out. One negative point: there's no winger in it. Boo earns.
No, but I did actually listen to the soundtrack when it went live, and the Mastodon song they did for it is excellent.
Soundtrack
is Rufus Lives. I think it's like soundtrack as a whole was class.
Yeah.
That Mastodon track is amazing.
Oh, it's class. It's just they should have put winger in it. That's all. But there also is a reference station in it as well. So it's like, that's great. So we're close. You know, it does everything that the View Askew Kevin Smith movie was trying to do, but that was done cynically to make money. This was done because I had something to say. So, yeah, you know, no bully Kevin Smith, but still, you know,
do better.
Exactly. Do better.
We're all very disappointed in Kevin Smith.
We're all very disappointed. Well, I've been disappointed with him since like Red State. So it's like, man, what are you doing? Yeah. Come on. And Red State was good, but also that's when the decline started, and Cop Out came out, and this is like, what are you doing? Like,
Cop Out was a cop out.
Oh, it's not good. It's not good. There are some good stories though, with just along talking about how much of a you know what. The guy from Die Hard.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis?
Bruce Willis is, yeah. Apparently Bruce Willis is not a nice guy.
He's got
I've heard that.
Yeah. I don't think he wants to act in anything anymore. I think from what I've heard, any contract he signs, he's only on set for like 3 days. And that's it.
Doesn't he? Isn't he in like a jazz band?
Yep. Yeah, he's been in a terrible jazz band for like since before he was an actor.
So funny. He's like the opposite Jared Leto.
To be honest, I'd argue that he's like he basically looks at what Macaulay Culkin's deal with Envy, where Macaulay Culkin did 2 or 3 films. Well, did like 4 or 5 films, made his money, got out, and is basically living in whatever life he wants to. Bruce Willis is like, how many films do I have to make to do that?
How many diehards do I have to do until I can leave?
Well, apparently they're redoing Home Alone, and the fans are petitioning for them to bring back Macaulay Culkin as Kevin McAllister and just not address the fact that he's like 40 years old now.
Well, what they could do is they could just have him as a grown-up Kevin McAllister who has. No,
he has to play the kid.
Yeah, no, just have him like.
And have him that he's
See, that just sounds like a YouTube poop video. Like,
yeah, it does. It really does.
But that's basically what Macaulay Culkin's career is now. So.
Yeah.
To be fair, I love the fact that when I'm watching a random YouTube video and he just shows up randomly. It's like,
he just
shows up. It's just like you're watching a Red Letter Media video.
Like,
he might be in it. You're watching an Angry Video Game Nerd video. He might just show up. It's weird. Yeah. Like
I always have the same reaction for the first, I want to say, 3/4 of a second, maybe a full second of going, what's this young Steve Buscemi doing here? Before I go,
we know who his real father is.
Yeah.
So. Really quick bit of news that I want to mention before we move on to our Simpsons review. Mandalorian 2 season 2 is coming out the 30th of October, so yay, there is some light at the end of this year.
And here's hoping it actually releases in Ireland at the same time this time. Come on, guys.
Well, sir, if it doesn't, you can use a browser that sponsors us.
I can board a boat.
You could also board a boat, of course, for, in theory, for academic purposes, and sail the high seas. But you don't need to do that, because if you just watch Disney Plus in a Brave browser, it has a built-in VPN. So
as long as they don't add it at a premium.
Yeah, that's a fair point too.
Oof.
That's a fair point too. But if they do that, maybe sail the high seas, of course, in theory, for educational purposes. So, ladies and gentlemen, where did we stop with season 8? Who remembers?
Was it?
Who remembers?
If you didn't do it last week, I think it was Lisa's date with Density, or like we did Millhouse Divided.
We did,
yes.
Did we not do Hurricane Nettie, or did we just briefly mention it?
I think we might have only briefly talked about it.
Right,
I don't remember us going into much detail.
We will pick up there then. So Hurricane Nettie obviously has it stinks. It stinks. Yes, Mr. Chairman, everything stinks. Yeah. It is one of the best. I think it's the first real Flanders episode that kind of fleshes him out beyond a parody of the religious right in the US in the 90s.
No, there was one before, a couple of seasons before this, where Homer became friends with him, and then he graded on Flanders because
but this gives him a backstory.
Oh yeah,
it explains why he's like the way he is.
This episode, I don't think was this the episode where it actually brought up that his parents were beatniks, or was that done before this?
No, this was the first time it was done. It's been done since, where they bring him up and they just show up and it's part of the canon. So this.
I thought they brought it up before, where it was like we were like, oh man, it'll take all over my poems.
I don't think so.
I think is that not the same episode?
No, because this one's the one where they say, we tried nothing and we were all out of ideas.
Well, look, guys, again, fact check us. Let us know in the comments below. Is this the first time that the Bitniks were brought up? I believe that it is. And we find out that Ned hates his parents, which is where all his anger comes from, because apparently he was really angry.
Yeah.
My favorite scene in this is where he's beating up all the kids and going, "Oh, take that, Prune Face! Now I'm Dick Tracy. Now take this, Dick Tracy. I'm Prune Face." It's I
love that they cut him. I love that they cut him off before he could say that he's Dick Face.
But you know what? This episode, I think, for me, makes Ned probably one of the most relatable characters in the show, because he flies off the handle and then he's just like, I'm just gonna have myself committed, and if that doesn't speak to me, I don't know what does.
I as I said, it takes one of the biggest punching bags in the series, from Homer, and actually fleshes him out to the point where you're like, well, you're really trying, you're really, really trying to deal with this, It's also hilarious. It's one of the funniest episodes. A lot of the jokes, when they build the house and it's like, this is the room with electricity, but it has too much electricity, so you might want to wear a hat, and you're like,
and he's like, oh yeah, sure. Great.
The low bearing poster.
Opening the little door in this Barney's eye.
Yeah,
this is your master bedroom.
And then it closes over. He's like, "Oh, my nose."
Or when he's being committed to the insane asylum, it's like, would you like to be brought in peacefully or kicking and screaming? Oh, kicking and screaming.
Or he's like, if you ever need anything, just look for the happiest man in Springfield, and it pans to this other guy, and he's like, no, he's talking about himself.
no,
thanks for noticing me.
I also love when they go to visit him and they say it's like one of our inmates is a cannibal. You might be pleasantly surprised to find out who it is.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. The writing on this is just so
but
good.
Even some of the background gags, so you've got people who are patients in the asylum, and one of them is the babysitter that tried to rob the kids, tie them up, and it's got so much that it brings back that you just kind of see in the background that you wouldn't really notice.
Absolutely.
It's so great.
Absolutely.
I could definitely explain my favorite episode with Ned, purely because they really, as you said, they really did try to find how could they really push him to his limit.
How could they turn this one-dimensional character into an actual 3D?
But that scene in the church, that scene in the church is the epitome of that, where he's basically praying to God and say it, he's just saying I was I want to scream it, but I did diddly do it. And you're just oh wow, that sucks.
It's
you are repressed.
But the thing about it is, what's interesting about it is, it kind of is the story of Job, and he references it. He's like, I feel like Job, and then Lovejoy is like, oh, aren't you being a bit dramatic? Saying, no, literally, that's what's happening here. It just underscores how much Lovejoy has failed him, really.
But as well as that, it's also a great it's just a great it has a great message of going, no, if you're upset about things, you actually have to communicate about it. Because otherwise you're actually doing yourself more harm in the long run.
Yeah, it's a real good kind of take on the importance of good mental health and balance as well.
Yeah, how to deal with it constructively.
The message of the episode is you probably go see a therapist.
Yeah,
or at least express yourself. Don't hold it in to the point where it explodes.
Granted, threatening to run people over the car might be pushing it too far, but
But at that point, he had already gone over the edge.
See, don't wait until your house gets blown down in the storm to go see a therapist.
And then the rubble burns down.
That's what you do. That's what you do on the internet. Yeah, because it's not bullying if it's on the internet, right?
Apparently.
Allegedly.
Do not bully people. Do not bully people on the internet. Seriously, do not do it.
Again, academic studies show it's a bad idea.
Yeah, don't do it. No one wins. Okay, the next one. Listen, I straight out don't like this one. Sell me on it if you do. It's the Mysterious Voyage of Homer. It's the one with the peppers. It has some good jokes.
So good.
I like it.
Hey, guys, sell me on it, please, because I always skip it. So I'm interested.
It's not so much. Sorry, you go, Katie.
I was just gonna say, for the bit with the tortoise alone, where he's like following the tortoise and it's going so slow, and he gets so annoyed that he like punts it over the horizon.
It's just like it's not even so much like it's got jokes, but it's not even so much for the funniest episode it is. But it's more just for like the interesting abstract stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
like it's Homer on a spirit quest with Johnny Cash as a fox, as a coyote. Like
it's true.
And then a dog.
And then the dog. Hey, dogs can't talk. Roof.
Soulmate Homer.
Soulmate Homer. Like I don't know. I think it has some good ideas, and yeah, that part is really good. It just kind of when I watch it and then I remember why I don't like it, it falls apart very quickly at the end.
But like even the part where he's like, he hears the voice saying, "You got to find your soulmate," and he's like, "How? Tell me how." And it goes, "I'm just a memory. I have no new information."
It's very good. It's okay. It's
so good. Like
my soulmate is a lighthouse.
Just like it's Batman. He really himself go. There we go. We did get a Batman reference. Yeah, you're right. You're right. We were talking before that Batman.
Who had 45 minutes?
That sneaky scamp. He got in there.
He got in there. Yeah.
Batman. Like I think like one of my favorite kind of bits about it as well is just like that he really like he goes into it's like this whole introspective thing for like Homer on what actually is a soulmate for him, what makes someone a soulmate for him.
Yeah.
And because Marge is mad at him for understandable reasons, he immediately goes, well, that if she's angry with me, she can't be my soulmate, which is stupid, by the way.
Yeah.
But
it's Homer.
Yeah,
it's Homer. He's not a smart dude.
No, he's not. But it's you know what I mean, though. And like basically he just goes off on this ridiculous journey of just going through Springfield on a random night looking for his soulmate. And then
that's how you're gonna find it.
Yeah, on a hallucinogenic chili high.
Yeah, no, brought on because of a hallucinogenic chili high. Because he's completely sober doing it. Trying to find his soulmate,
Yeah.
And then like eventually gets to the point where like he's so broken down that he finds a lighthouse and going, the most lonely man in the world, he'll be my friend. And then gets there to find out that it's an automatic one. He's like,
so
I just love there's like a nice little kind of like pathos to it.
And then of course it ends with short shorts.
Yes,
it does, which is always
which I always forget. It's like, I'm in trouble now. Oh man. Okay, so we move from there to a series of 5 episodes, which 3 of them actually involve like a lot of cultural of its time, like messing around with cultural stuff. So there's a lot to unpack on those. So we're going to take them bit by bit. The next one is the Springfield Files, which is the first time really where we've had a celebrity kind of just play themselves, but not in the sense of they're in it. I mean, like they're literally doing nothing different other than just being themselves. And we've seen
Are we talking about Leonard Nimoy?
We're talking about Leonard Nimoy. We're talking about the X-Files, but they're Leonard Nimoy's being himself, and he's just there.
Wasn't Leonard Nimoy in the monorail episode?
He was in the monorail episode as well.
One second though, but it's wrapped up in this this X-Files parody, right? Yeah. So it's the first time that we have the bookend where inside the show, Leonard Nimoy is reading a book and he's introducing character. That's never happened. We've had him as a character interacting with the rest of the characters. But what's interesting about this is Leonard Nimoy never actually talks to anyone from The Simpsons other than the guy who's running the show. So this is the first time that's going to happen. So they're breaking the TV fourth wall several times here, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Then he decides to go off.
And then he goes,
Then he beams away.
And he beams away. But I really
like putting on your hot dog.
And then again, he comes back in, so it is what it is. I think this is great. It has a lot of really funny Simpsons moments. It's one of my favorite Mr. Burns episodes as well because it adds more layers to him. Actually, this one and Mountain of Madness, which is coming up in 2 more episodes, that is my favorite Mr. Burns episode. But a lot of Mr. Burns is in this season as well, and a lot of this kind of really pushing the absurdity that we've seen in the other seasons to its logical conclusion without breaking it. Season 9 is coming up, guys, so watch out. It's about to get rough. Yeah. But where would you place this one, guys?
The Springfield Files?
Yeah.
It's one of the best episodes in the season. I'd happily say that. I think in terms of having like celebrity voices, it's one of the strongest episodes, but I wouldn't necessarily put it top tier.
Okay.
I like my favorite bits in the episode aren't necessarily don't really involve Mulder and Scully all that much, except for one specific line. Yes, it's like a lava lamp. But outside of that, like my favorite moments of it is like Homer going down the dark road, bus comes around and has the psycho music playing, and then it turns out there's people playing the music in the bus. I just love that. I think it's brilliant.
I think it is like I think it's one of the highest just persistence of joke per second. Every
absolutely.
second of like one of my favorite moments is just the FBI badge with him in the bikini. That's great. And as Bryn is quite clearly showing off the orca, that's Mo carting that.
Quick, get him back to SeaWorld.
Well, I mean, the FBI badge thing, wasn't that a nod to the fact that like David Duchovny was an adult film star?
Was he?
Before the X-Files, he did adult films, and I think that's that was a nod.
Doesn't shock me at all. David Duchovny is a strange dude. We love him, but he's a weird dude. Doesn't shock me
at all. Huge drama. He's one of the best robot actors of his time.
Absolutely. The next one has my favorite line in it, and I use it pretty much on a weekly basis. It's the whole monologue about where's the money. It's like, my wife, she keeps asking, where's the money? Why aren't you going to get the money? Where are you going to get the money now?
Why don't you have the money now?
Why don't you have the money now?
And so on.
And I just love it. Also, it has the whole, you can call them whitey whackers. Oh no, this is a terrible day for baseball. And it's just that alone just makes it so good. And then it comes to the big Yakuza mafia fight at the end as well. I want to see the little one. We don't know what he's going to do. He's going to do something. It's going to be good.
Comes in through the window. I was like, I'm very sorry.
1,000 apologies.
So good. So look, I would say, as from an episode that isn't like the best ever, it does have like the story is very, very poor. Yeah. But it is super fun, and you can have a great time watching it.
It's probably one of the worst, like in terms of plot. It's one of the worst episodes in terms of plot. But there is very little plot in it. The jokes that it has completely elevate it.
Yeah,
to other playing. I think
it's kind of like a running thing with The Simpsons as well. Is that when it's a Marge-centered story, it's generally not as good as like a Homer or a Bart-centered story.
Like for example, Katie, right? Here's what the plot is according to Wikipedia. When Marge's new pretzel franchise does poorly, Homer turns to Fat Tony and a mob for some assistance.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's the plot.
That's the plot of the episode.
That's it. And that's mostly the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, everything else is self. Yeah.
That is the entire plot of the episode.
Now, there is something intrinsically in Marge trying to sell pretzels that just kind of isn't funny.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of building around it.
Compared to the next one, Mountain of Madness, after a chaotic fire drill at the nuclear power plant, Mr. Burns organizes a team building exercise in the mountains, but an avalanche traps him in an isolated cabin with Homer. That's already way more exciting than what you think. Love this episode. I love everything about this episode. It is one of my top 5. And everything. I love everything.
I really love the B plot of Marge, of Bart and Lisa. Just like
annoying
holding up Smithers as much as possible. Yeah. Mr. Smithers, I think this true also sprained its ankle.
Good.
Just the bit at the end where they go into the new cabin and it's like, Sorry, Lenny, you're fired.
That miserable old ghost. Oh, so good.
Yeah, no, like I don't think it's one of
my.
my favorites. Just I don't think every joke landed for me, but it's got a lot. Like we're talking in the level of season 8. Like it's a high bar that's just not there for me. But like the jokes that land. Like when they put the clothes in the snowman and they're imagining them as more figures, and it's Mr. Burns is just a bunch of like 1920s German troops.
I have powers, historical powers. That's so good.
It's very good.
The next one is a straight up Mary Poppins parody.
Yeah,
or Sherry Bobbins, of course.
Don't you mean Mary Poppins? No.
Is the next one not Itchy and Scratchy?
No,
that's the one after. That's the one after it.
Oh, yes, you're right.
So look, it is what it is. It's one of the best parodies ever put to screen. Definitely want to watch. There's not much else I can say that wouldn't ruin the episode.
Songs are good.
Songs are good. Plot's good.
Yeah.
Kind of falls
the morals
apart at the
questionable.
And do a half-assed job. The ending. Will we ever see her again? I think so. When she flies into a plane. You know. But I am jumping ahead a little bit because we only have like 10 minutes left, and we're going to use all those talking about the next one probably, because it's Poochie. And what can you say about the Itchy, Scratchy, and Poochie show, guys?
Where is Poochie?
Exactly, that's part of the rules. Everyone needs to ask where's Poochie. And
when are they going to get to the fireworks factory?
Oh my god! So look, guys. This was a takedown, obviously, of the whole formula of bringing in a character. And they actually have Roy, who we've yet to see since then, which I would love them to bring back as a reference to this. And that's kind of playing out. So this is like deeply, deeply, deeply satirical of that TV format of bringing in a character when it gets boring. But everything
or
about
changing up the voice actor, and the audience won't tell the deadly difference.
Exactly. Where do you like? I don't know, man. I love Poochie. I think they should bring him back. They can't because they signed a legal document, said that they would, and he has to go back to his home planet. But
and then he died on the way.
But Captain Marvel came back from her home planet. So
yeah, but
they had to bring
universe.
her back for plot purposes.
But she didn't sign a legal document saying we can never talk about her again.
Yeah, that is the difference.
That's fair.
Like they conveniently wrote her out of Infinity War. Yeah. Very conveniently, and they were because I remember seeing Infinity War and then seeing Captain Marvel, and I was like, "Where was she?"
Yeah, what were you doing?
Off helping like 20 other planets, not this one. It's fine.
You guys have this. You know, it's like
you were helping the one planet that you needed to, and everybody died.
That's a very fair point. She probably shouldn't have been so selfish. That was kind of like.
But it brings me back to like in the first Avengers where suddenly the Hulk can control himself because he's always angry for the purposes of plot.
Yeah, fair. Very fair point.
Yeah. But that was foreshadowed at the end of the Ed Norton one, so
yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose he is playing a direct continuation of that version of the Hulk.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. I think this is a really we're not going to get through the rest of season 8 here. We're just not going to do it because we're getting to some really good ones, and it'd be a shame to go through them. So we're going to have to extend this out one final week.
Oh no!
Oh no! Not again.
Whatever will we do?
So we will finish it off. But guys, do you want to jump to Homer's phobia, or will we wrap up?
I think we'll wrap up. I think.
Absolutely.
I think Homer's phobia has too much to talk.
It does. It has way too much to talk about, even just for the Everybody Dance Now scene, which is brilliant. So guys, so we'll pick up there next week with Homer's phobia, season 8, episode 15 of The Simpsons, guys. So do your homework and watch the rest of it because we're going to be breaking those down. But before we go, Bryn, where's the show? Where's the show? Why aren't you doing the show? Where's the show?
My wife, she keeps asking about the show.
That's so honest. So
as I said last week, it's going to be ready for next week.
Spring 2022.
The virus has moved it back. It's okay.
No, as in like it was. I knew last week that I was going to be ready for. I've got the first pass of recording done. I have a couple of pickups I have to do. I know, but I'm expecting to have that fully edited down, and I should have that ready for next week. I'm aiming for Tuesday, but we'll see.
Brilliant. Cool. Well, follow our social media. We'll find we'll update that when it goes live as well, so you can check it out. Kev, you have a show coming up soon, man. Next Monday.
Yes, it is a very exciting week for me actually, because
to be honest, I thought it was this Monday. I'm like, oh no, I forgot.
The heart attack you gave me when you sent me a message. It's like, hey Kev, where's the show in the folder? I was like, I haven't edited it yet.
It's not done yet.
It's not done yet. Yeah, no. First Monday of every month, which makes it the 6th. So next Monday is the new episode of Anime Crash Course. Me and Cian deep dive into Steins Gate. And honestly, I thought my mind just unraveled during the recording of that episode. I thought it made no sense. But upon re-listen, it actually is a cohesive episode, thankfully. But on top of that, speaking of Cian, I will be featuring on the newest episode of the Game Corner, Cian's gaming show, where the two of us are just going to spend the entire time gushing about Fire Emblem Three Houses, because both of us have knocked nearly 200 hours into that game each.
Yikes.
It's a long old game. Is it a dating sim?
It might be.
It might be.
Find out.
Tune in and find out.
Anything's a dating sim if you try hard enough. So there you go, as we discussed in our panel. And Katie, what is coming up this week?
Yeah, we have another episode of Doing It for the Exposure tomorrow or 2 days ago, whichever comes first. We have our first body painter, which is, it's not me. There are other body painters besides me.
Excuse me, what?
So that's going to be really, really good. And also we kind of have it in the plans, but it's not 100% confirmed yet. There may be 2 episodes of Doing It for the Exposure this week, because we got some very, very bad news about the Icon Factory in Temple Bar.
Oh no.
So we want to get the word out there, and we're hopefully going to have some artists from the Icon Factory over the weekend as well.
Okay, very cool. So the best thing to do is keep an eye on the social media. Everything's going to go up on YouTube, obviously, and that kind of stuff as well. So if you're not subscribe to the shows. It's all free. It's all going to be kept free. And we have a lot more content coming up. The Wrestling Rewind has just dropped. A very, very decent show, if I might say so. And then there was a special show that I didn't think I was going to do on Friday with Nephilim and Giant Researcher. So it's a follow-up from The Dark from episode 3. So that is a crazy conversation. And we're going to do part of a series once I finish his book. So check that out. There's a lot on the feed, guys. So if you're not subscribed, or if you're just listening to us on Phoenix FM, what are you doing? Go over to NerdtoKnowMedia and then follow us there, guys. Come on, you're missing out. You're missing out.
Go 30 years.
Do it.
Exactly. Go to this.
Just remain indoors and listen to us elsewhere.
And don't think about the event.
No, do not think about the event. That's how, or the game. Isn't that it? Don't think about the game.
Oh, I lost the game.
Wow,
well done.
I know. All right, guys. Well, this is going to wrap it up.
Better than the event, so.
Yeah, so we'll be back next week, same time here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, and of course, we stream every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. So we'll see you next week, guys. Goodbye.
Bye.